10 David, roger. Drive time ETA.
114 to 10 David on Metro frequency.
10 David, go ahead.
A really big fucking hole coming right up!
Yo, welcome to Breaching episode 12. My name is Arcanix and I'll be your host. And today we sit down with LaXIng and talk competitive Siege. I think it was amazing getting to sit down with LaXIng and hear and talk about a variety of topics ranging from his time in Elevate, Beast Coast, CLG, Reciprocity, even to talking about controversial topics like the current FPL system coming into Siege and tongue scrapers, personal health / hygiene. LaXIng was an amazing guest, and it was like fascinating to sit down with him and just talk competitive Siege. If you guys really enjoy this podcast, I implore you to please like or subscribe so I can keep making content like this and getting to reach out to different pros. And if you have any feedback for me concerning this podcast, I ask you please leave it below in the comments. And without any further ado, here is the episode. Enjoy, guys. Let's start where I always start, I guess. What it means, like playing competitive Xbox, how you started playing Siege, if you played any competitive games before it. Yeah, let me know.
Okay, so is that the question? Like, are you going to ask me that, or should you just want me to answer it right now?
Oh, I'm asking, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, starting playing Xbox competitively, I grew up playing pretty much all console games, which I think most people did back in my day. I mean, some people had access to computers, but like we had a really shitty one, so I just played like Rome Total War and stuff like that. But yeah, I played a lot of Xbox and getting into the Xbox 360 and all that. I played a lot of game battles and PGL, which was for Halo. Halo is what kind of really started my competitive I'm trying to think. Like, it just, I don't know, it started my whole like competitive side and just wanted to compete, watching the pros back then play. And then going into the years to come, I played a lot of Call of Duty game battles. And then Siege came out, I think, 2016, something like that, 2017.
Yeah,
And
2016.
then 2016. Okay, so it was 2016. I forgot the game's been out for 5 years. Shit. But yeah, so then I was trying to go pro. I was going to try to go pro in Halo 4, and then Siege had came out, and I started playing Siege, and I like deeply fell in love with it. And it was funny at the time because there was no pro league, there was nothing, it was just Siege. But they had game battles for it, and I was playing game battles a lot. I made my own teams, and at the time, the top teams in game battles. And are you familiar with game battles?
Yeah, I'm familiar with game battles or COD and shit.
Yeah, so I played a lot of game battles, and at the time, like the game battles teams, like the top teams, they were all like former Rainbow Six Vegas pros. So they were kind of like running the scene. And so like no one knew who I was. I had no idea who anybody was. But yeah, so yeah, I was playing a lot of game battles. And then one day, one of the top teams called Pick Your Poison at the time. And ironically enough, the player that I subbed in for is now my coach, Hopes. So he went on vacation, and his team was like, yo, you want to sub in for Hopes while he's gone, and we'll play in this tournament. And for me, I was like, all right, like that, why not? So then I subbed with them. And then, yeah, we just played. We placed like third. And that was the highest I ever placed in game battles. Like I always performed against the top teams, but my team was just shit. Like that's just the easiest way to put it. My teammates were shit. But then, yeah, so then Hopes came back, and then they decided to then hit me with, we would like to keep you as a sub. And me being the competitive person that I am, I said, fuck that, like I'm not going to, play. Like I know that I can compete at the level that I'm playing at currently, and there's no way I'm just going to sit here and like have someone else be in the spotlight. There was no way in hell. So then I just kind of like took that chance again of, not being able to compete with a top team. And then sure enough, another top team called One Up at the time then picked me up. And then, yeah, that's kind of the start of where my career really started to take off in Siege. And then they announced a pro league scene. We played through qualifiers. Unfortunately, my team actually didn't qualify. We lost to we actually lost to PYP in a qualifying match, which then deemed us not able to make pro league. But then another top team, the first place team that qualified, ended up picking me up. And then then that's like that's where everything kind of just unfolded from there. That's where I started making a name for myself, and then went on for a year, and then I won the first pro league ever with excellence, then transitioned to elevate after. Unfortunately, that was a shit show. Then joined excellence again with Skies, England, Geo, and Dashboard. Then we were the best team in North America. Then a year later, well, not a year later, but months later, then the Invitational came. I ended up winning Invitational, and then we got the news that they were canceling the Pro League scene on Xbox, which was like super shitty because, that's where we've been playing, that's what we've been doing. But if we wanted to keep our career, we had to make that transition to PC. So then switched over to PC. But that was kind of the start of like kind of how my Xbox career kind of took off and then turned into a professional career.
So, was that challenging switching to PC? Because I know I
To be
spoke to
honest,
Skies, and he felt like he had people fundraise for him. Like, how was it for you?
yeah, for me it was actually extremely easy. I think Skies discredits his capability that, he was he was actually like all of us were like super good when we came over. I mean, we weren't the best players by any means, but the fact that we switched over within a month of notice that they were going to cancel, and then within that same exact month we also qualified for PC Pro League. So I think Skies definitely discredits himself there, even though, like, personally, I thought he was extremely good. Everyone that transitioned over was extremely good. But for me specifically, it was really easy because I already had experience playing on PC, not at any level of like FPS, but just at home. Like I said, I had top down strategy games. I kind of played Oblivion at my cousin's house. I Did you ever play a game called Tribes?
No, I'm not familiar with it. Tell me about it.
So you ever played on Unreal Tournament?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Unreal. It is ran on the Unreal Tournament engine, but it's this kind of like space game where it's kind of a third person player game, point of view. And I played a lot of that, so I wasn't like completely ignorant coming over and like using a mouse and a keyboard. So for me, it was definitely easier to like make that transition. The only difference from Xbox to PC in terms of Siege was the fact that people could hold tighter angles. The play style was very methodical. It wasn't so aggressive, but I feel that was the advantage that we had coming over was we had that aggressive play style that PC didn't adapt at the time or adopt at the time. So going into PC, it was actually easier than I thought it was. But I think that also has a lot to do with it still being Siege. Like we played Siege on Xbox, we just transitioned over to Siege on PC, whereas it wasn't like we played Siege on Xbox, then we came over and played CSGO. It was still the same game. It was just played a little different.
Okay. So I was looking up your like all the events you've been to, and I realized you've really been
Mhm.
to every invitational since
I have been to every
2017.
single invitational. Yeah,
How
I've
was
had
winning that 2017
winning
one?
it. Winning it was surreal. I
Was
mean, it
that
was
your
the first
first
time I ever
major tournament?
played. Yeah, I mean, I guess what in terms of like more of an audience, because I won at PAX East, which was the first event that I ever won, but then obviously invitation, like it was strictly Siege. But yeah, I mean, it was surreal. I never thought, one, I'd be playing in front of like an audience. I think there was only like 400 people at the time, but I mean, to me, it was like, that was fucking mind blowing. But yeah, it was a surreal experience, and ever since then, like I just wanted to keep winning. I wanted to keep winning. I've definitely had my highs and lows throughout my career. And speaking of the invitational in specific, like the first one I won, then the second one I didn't even place. I placed top 16. Then the third one I placed third. Then this most recent one we like placed top 12. Like so, I've definitely had ups and downs at invitational. So maybe like going from first to third, maybe this next one, if we make it, hopefully,
Hopefully.
like I get first or second, something like that. It's always the goal, but definitely had my highs and lows at the invitational. But I've always been at them. I've always
How
competed at them.
how surreal has it been to see the growth of Siege through every invitational from like 400 people to like thousands?
I mean, the growth by itself is crazy. I always like throughout playing Siege professionally, there were so many people that are just like, "Oh, Siege is dying. It's a dead game. This, that." Just a lot of negative shit that I didn't really care to hear. And like, I knew that the game was unique in its own sense because Call of Duty, Halo, CS:GO, all those big title for FPS, they were the same thing over and over and over. Nothing really changed, and Siege was kind of like a new take of FPS. It was an FPS and a MOBA put into that, and there was no other game like that at the time, and still currently any game like that. I can't find anything. As much as I have this love-hate relationship with Siege, I will always give respect to Siege in terms of just the natural attraction it gave me and like that I was drawn to, because no other game really did that to the extent that Siege has. And maybe that also has to do with it being my professional career. But I mean, the growth just as a whole, yeah. I mean, it's something that I wouldn't say it blows my mind. I kind of expect it, but just at how fast it's going, that I would say definitely like grabs my attention as a whole, just to see like how much from 1 year it's transitioned to where it is, and then the next year and the next year and the next year to follow. I mean, I can only imagine within the next like couple years it's going to be at CS:GO level in no time.
100%. Yeah, I was at 2019 Invitational, and just watching the finals, every seat filled up. Like,
Oh
freaking,
yeah.
that's a lot of people, man. Like,
Oh no, it's a ton of people, and then even the people watching all around the world. I mean, the for how young the game is, that's what some people don't understand. Is they talk about like, oh, it's 4 years, and I got in like an argument with some kid on Twitter. He was talking with the major that just happened, that we were only polling like 70K viewers and all that across like all the platforms. And I was like, well, like that's still extremely fucking well, especially for an offline major. Where if there would have been an actual LAN event, there would have been way more viewership. There would have been an audience. There would have been more funding into it. But I mean, for only 5 years and where Siege has like started 70K, 80K, 100K, that's extremely well for such a still, in my opinion, a very new game in terms of like longevity. Because CS:GO took about, I mean, CS:GO has been out for like 20 plus years, and it took them about 8 years ago to get them to where they are like today and still going. So Siege is definitely doing that at a much faster pace. And a lot of that also has to do with just technology as a whole, just speeds up everything. But
100%.
I mean, yeah, Siege is definitely going to be, I mean, it already has a big spotlight in it, but it's going to be even in a bigger spotlight with the years to come.
Yeah, let's backtrack back to when you came to PC. How
Mhm.
was it like first couple scrims versus PC teams? Your first impressions on the scene there?
So I'll talk about the qualifier because like that was kind of like an eye opener for us to really demonstrate how the game was supposed to be played at the time. Because like I said, when we first came over, we had to play the qualifier over again. Like we had to re-qualify to be a pro, which I just want to say, I just want to put out there, playing qualifiers fucking sucks. Um, but yeah, we played in the qualifier, and like I said, what I think gave us the big advantage coming into PC is our aggressive playstyle. A lot of PC players didn't like to take gunfights; they preferred to hold angles and not really engage in anything. They just wanted the freebie. Where we were like just up in your face. But then, so we breezed through the qualifier. Then going into scrims against some of the pro teams, that's where we really realized like the difference from the qualifiers to pro play, and it was definitely annoying at times. It took a lot of, you know, patience and understanding that this is how the game is played at a professional level. And it was just a matter of still keeping that aggressive play style, but also adopting the kind of passive aggressive angle methodical play. But it was still more focused on like gunfights than anything for us. But it wasn't anything like I would say detrimental to our team or even me personally. It was just a matter of really just trying to figure out like how to approach these things differently and kind of turn things more into our favor, which we ended up doing because when we first came over, we, like I said, we qualified for PC Pro League, the first Xbox team to do it. Then at the same time, we were also the first team to knock out the previous world champions, which was CTM, and
Yeah,
we made Pro League the first season ever. So I mean, I'll say that's a pretty good fucking run for transitioning over to PC and only having a month of being on PC.
100%. In 2017, you guys get knocked out by Penta twice.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about that. Like getting to face international competition. Like what was different about that team compared to like in that LAN environment? Do you feel like you guys had to shake those tournaments? Do you feel like they
No,
were just
I
like
don't think
literally
anyone.
better?
I've actually never had any like shakes or nervousness or anything like that going into LAN. I actually like feed off playing off crowds and all that stuff and the hype. But I just, like I said, like EU and Penta specifically, like they were they really showed like how Siege was supposed to be played and like if you played it the correct way because Siege was still young, so there was still a lot of talent that was untapped into. So yeah, I mean, Penta just really showed like how well rounded each one of those players were, and I mean, they just got better from there. Obviously, if you look at their track record, yeah, I mean, they just really had a really good idea of how the game was supposed to be played at the current time, and kept that going. Where other teams were making roster changes, trying to figure out who does what, who does that, and I think Penta just had that big advantage of really understanding the game in depth and knowing what roles needed to be filled and how they should be filled and who was doing what and why they were doing it. And it just showed in a lot of their game. And in my opinion, that team has always been the hardest team in terms of competition that I've ever played against. Not the recent G2 that I've played against, but the old G2 and Penta, in my opinion, were the hardest team I've ever played against, for sure.
That's fair. You guys get picked up by CLG at some point there. Like, how does that happen? I think that was mind blowing news from a community standpoint.
Yeah, I was.
Because they're like huge.
Yeah, me and Skies were kind of like the go-to people in terms of talking to other orgs aside from our other teammates. So yeah, I reached out to CLG because the scene was blowing up, bigger names were getting into it, and I was like, not that Elevate wasn't a big name at the time because they were pretty popular in Call of Duty, but I just felt like we wanted bigger and better. And this isn't to discredit CLG in any way, shape, or form, but I will say throughout just like my career in Siege, I will say tier one orgs aren't everything that they're cracked out to be. Because people think like, oh, you join Cloud9, you join Liquid. I'm not saying all these other orgs or anything, but me personally, just tier one orgs like just aren't always all that. And I can't blame them also in Siege because Siege isn't a profitable game, or at least wasn't a profitable game at the time. So it was kind of they're just we're just another team to some of these orgs. But yeah, I mean, it was cool being part of them and having that experience. But for me, in terms of orgs, I just want people who value their players and care about their players and everything like that, and just not, I don't know. I have mixed relationships and feelings with tier one orgs or just any orgs in general, for sure.
I think that's fair. I was mind blown from a community standpoint when I realized that they said you guys were camping for the pro league season.
Yeah, no, it was definitely
CLG.
cool. Like that is definitely one thing that those tier one orgs can provide is, team house, the environment of going to boot camp, stuff like that. Like, it's really cool. I mean, to be able to do that because you're gaming, and it's definitely an experience that, a lot of players I think would personally love to experience. I liked experience. I still like experiencing it. It's definitely something that I think if any player that really is striving to become, a world competitor and just a top player to experience that, because it is definitely something to experience if you are in gaming, but it's definitely something also that is, I don't know, there's other things you also have to take with a grain of salt that come with having those resources, for sure.
What do you think the CLG team needed to succeed?
Honestly, that team was just going downhill. I don't think there was really anything that could have prevented that. I just think it was just we teamed with each other for a long time. We knew who each other were for a long time, and I think it was just going downhill regardless. I don't think there's really much that could have changed in terms of even the team dynamic. I just felt it was just kind of one of those things that, it just had to be let go. It just had to crumble, and everyone had to kind of go their own way.
Okay, yeah, because I
I'm,
felt
and I'm still friends with each and every single one of those guys. All those guys are great, but in just terms of us teaming together and having so much, time with each other, I just felt it was just one of those things, things had to be changed, things had to be done. And if it wasn't going to end right then and there, it was going to end at some point, but it just so happened to end right there.
that's fair. Yeah, you guys got relegated by Beast Coast.
Yeah.
I freaking watching that game, like my heart beating so fast because I'm like,
it was aggravating. That's for sure. It was definitely, and that's what I'm talking. I've definitely had highs and lows in my career for sure. And I think getting relegated is probably the lowest that I've ever been in my career, because that's basically your career's done at that point. But yeah.
So before you get picked up by Beast Coast, what is your plan? Like, did you try for any other teams? Was there anything else on the table?
So when we got relegated, obviously everyone's fucking heated. Everyone's kind of going their own route, talking to their own teams. I was actually in talks with SK, and I was actually going to join SK with Mint, Kyle, and all them. Kyle, Matt, and all them. But then in some weird fashion, then Waffle, Evil Waffle, that was on Beast Coast, then ends up joining SK, which then leaves Beast Coast out of a spot. And then I was like, well, fuck, well, this is like my only other option here. So then I reached out to him. And I was known in Xbox at the time for kind of being toxic, which I was definitely. Like, there's no doubt about that. I definitely talked a lot of shit. It was nothing that I would say that was like a personal attack or anything like that, but it was just Xbox. It was shit talking. That's just kind of how the environment was. That was definitely something that was very different from the Xbox scene versus the PC scene. Is like in PC, people didn't really talk a lot of shit to each other. There wasn't really like a lot of animosity either. Whereas on Xbox, it was very aggressive, not just even in terms of play style, but just the players, the atmosphere, like everything about it was toxic, aggressive. So people kind of had this like perception of me of, I'm toxic, I'm this or that, which as time went on, when I joined Beast Coast, that was kind of like their one worry is like, am I gonna be toxic? Am I gonna be this? But I definitely, and I was very immature back then as well, where I think I've obviously, well, I don't think I've definitely matured over the years, but as like time showed when I actually joined Beast Coast and showed them like, I'm not that kind of person that some people pinned me out to be. And, the team worked out, we were playing, we qualified for the major. We won DreamHack Montreal. We didn't have the best showing in Pro League, I'll tell you that. I don't know how the fuck we made it through there because we should have been. I don't know how we didn't get relegated again. I'm gonna be honest with you because we had 2 forfeits and like a lot of ties, but we somehow slipped by. So I'm not a 2-time relegated shitter like Skies is. I love Skies though, but it was either mine or his team that was getting relegated, and then he ended up getting relegated. So he's the 2-time shitter. But yeah, I don't know how we slipped by, but then yeah, that was kind of the whole Beast Coast story. Well, then we transitioned to Cloud9 actually. That's kind of yeah. But yeah, well, sorry to go past your question, but yeah, joining Beast Coast, that was kind of like the next option from there.
How was the Beast Coast roster? Like your first impressions heading into it?
So I already knew who Mark and Goddess were just from Xbox. Didn't really know who Retro was. I knew he was previously on CTM way back when, but I didn't know who he was exactly. And then Fox, I knew him from just competing against him on Excellence. Um, but aside from that, I didn't really know the team dynamic that much. But as I joined, as time went on, it kind of, everyone was very chill. Everyone was a lot of fun to be with. Just it was a fun environment for sure. I don't think it was the most competitive environment at the time. I think that slowly kind of started to shift towards us getting picked up by Cloud9, and then it seemed a little more competitive. But then it kind of like went downhill, where then we had to make roster changes, and then yeah, I mean that's kind of what happened from there.
Yeah, you guys getting picked up by Cloud9, like for some reason outraged the community. Because everyone was like, why them? Do you have an idea why Cloud9 picked you up? I guess the rumors were like it was because it was Goddess was on the team.
Definitely Goddess. I mean, it makes sense too, and it's not to like say anything bad about Cloud9, but I mean, it was definitely a marketing. It was huge for marketing. I mean, having a female in a male dominated pro league scene, it was definitely huge for marketing, which definitely I think worked in their favor, getting some sponsorship. So that was definitely a huge reason why Cloud9 picked this up, and I don't really blame them either. We were just kind of on the train with Goddess, but yeah, it's kind of how that all happened. And then, as time went on, we won. Like I said, we won DreamHack Montreal, qualified for the invitation. We were the second team right behind G2, and then we could have won the U.S. Nationals as Cloud9, but things just happened. Things didn't work out. We made roster changes from there, and then we ended up picking up Skies in place of Goddess, and then kind of started a new legacy from there that kind of lasted a little bit.
Okay, I'd love to talk about the dropping of Goddess, but really quick, DreamHack Montreal. In your opinion, was that a fluke or?
Honestly, the stars aligned, like everything aligned. That was the best we ever played, like in terms of anything that we've ever played together. That event, everyone showed up, everything worked perfectly. Like we didn't lose a single map in that entire tournament. We 2-0'd everybody. So yeah, the stars definitely fucking aligned for sure.
Do you feel like that?
I think we dropped one map, but yeah,
Yeah, like I was going back over the results. Like, yeah, you guys 2-0'd everyone.
yeah.
Like Mouse,
And
Millennium, Rogue.
And to be fair, a lot of those top teams at the time were also made roster changes as well. But I mean, still, I don't know. Like everything just flowed super smooth at that event.
That's fair. And I think you guys that's when you guys become sixth in Pro League Season 8, so like barely avoiding relegations there. And
Yeah,
Obey and Noble gets relegated. What happened
we
compared
we
to the
slipped
DreamHack
by.
Montreal performance?
Well, that was the thing. Like we were playing like shit all the way up until that point. Um, there wasn't really anything that I think just changed as a whole. It was just like I said, the stars aligned. We ended up playing perfect siege, and it just didn't. I mean, it kind of stuck after that, but I mean, things just weren't working. And then after U.S. Nationals, we placed I think fourth. We should have been in the finals, and no, we placed third or fourth. I can't remember. But then, yeah, then we ended up making a roster change with Goddess for Skies, and it was nothing like against Goddess. It was just everyone as a whole just kind of felt like we should be doing better, and we wanted to try something. And I love Goddess. Like Lauren is super fun. She's super chill, and then she ended up actually joining the Sonics after that. So it's not like you know, she wasn't competing anymore. But yeah, we had to make that change and we thought it was for the best. And it was, and it did definitely work as the future went on. But then there's more stories with that for sure.
So as soon as you guys drop Goddess, you guys lose C9. Like I know, like you said, they did pick up for Goddess, but would they actually leave because of that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It doesn't.
100%.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like I get it from, I guess from a business standpoint, the reason they left is gone. But you guys had also you'd won a tournament, so it didn't seem like you guys were the worst team in the world, like without them.
Yeah, but that was the thing though. Like I said, I don't really blame Orgs or Cloud9 specifically. Is like Siege at the time, I don't think there was even charms or anything for Orgs to even make any revenue back. Um, but yeah, we weren't making them any money. They weren't, they weren't, if anything, they were losing money, which most orgs definitely have lost a lot of money being in Siege. Whereas like now they're probably making something back, but definitely at the time, like Siege wasn't profitable in any sense. So they were just giving money. And I think we were the first team to actually have a team house that Cloud9 provided.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, once Goddess was out of the picture, then that's when Cloud9 then sold us to Reciprocity, which was like an under the ground deal, which we had no clue about until one day we were like, all right, you guys are being sold to Reciprocity. And we were like, wait, what? Like, what just happened? And then, yeah, then we were Reciprocity. Everyone was kind of like, oh, how do you go from Cloud9 to Reciprocity? But in my opinion, Reciprocity is one of the best orgs I have ever been able to be a part of. Chad was a phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal org owner, and really valued his players regardless of what game they were in, how much money they were making from Siege. Like he was just a really down to earth guy and just really showed how much like he loved his job and being in the esports and how much he just really cared about his players.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've only heard good things about Chad and about
Uh,
Reciprocity as an
Chad,
organization.
Chad's an extremely good guy for sure.
How was it teaming with Skies again for the first time since I guess CLG?
It was nothing new. Like I said, I teamed with him. Well, not like I said, but I teamed with him the majority of my career already, so it wasn't really anything new. Um, it kind of sucked at the time because, like, in Siege, and the best advice I can even give to AM players and anybody is, you always want to stick with somebody. Like, as long as they're good. Obviously, don't stick with someone that's shit, but sticking with people that are good and have the same talent or around the same talent and performance and everything like that. It's good to have someone by your side that will always like have your back, stick up for you, put their neck on the line for you, any stuff like that. And with esports, I mean, it's very cutthroat, so it's hard to find some people like that. But I try my best to have good relationships with specific people, just for the sake of my future, for the sake of their future, whatever the case is. And it kind of sucked at the time because Skies ended up joining Obey, and I thought like me and Skies were gonna stick together, and then it was kind of like, well, you're on your own, whatever. And I always give him shit for it. There's no hard feelings. You gotta do what you gotta do at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But I always try to
100%.
stick with people regardless. But yeah, I knew Skies was a free agent because he was taking a little break, and I hit him up, and I was like, "Yo, you want to join us? This, that, blah, blah, blah." And then yeah, he ended up joining us, and then we started playing again, and it felt good. It was another person. It's always good when you can rely on teammates, and whether you're dead or they're up, anything like that, you can really put a lot of trust into those teammates. And Skies was definitely someone that I've always teamed with, and not to discredit anybody, but Skies was always someone that I teamed with that always performed, always did well, and someone that I could always rely on in terms of just playing well. So it definitely was refreshing to have another talented player on the team because you can't teach talent. You can't teach talent. That just has to come with time. So it was a no-brainer picking up Skies in terms of any free agents. So yeah, I mean, teaming with Skies definitely was a plus for our team as a whole, and just going into the future of reciprocity.
So 2019 invitationals, and this is an exciting conversation because I was actually there, so I love asking questions about this.
Mhm.
The group matches were very interesting. You guys lost to Fnatic, I'm pretty sure, and then you guys beat
Listen,
Nip and FaZe.
I love the Fnatic guys, but man, they got lucky. They 100% got lucky, and they abused. So when we first played them at that event,
Was that the
that's when we
Cav
found
thing?
out there was a Cav glitch,
Yeah.
and there was also the Wind Bastion skin that we weren't aware of. So we went into the game without the skins, where Fnatic had all the Wind Bastion skins. Apparently, every team was running them besides us at the time because we just had no fucking clue about it. And then in the same Villa match, they were running Cav, which we couldn't understand why. But then Mark, or I think it was Retro was holding an angle towards 90, and that little bookshelf that's on the ground right there, Cav was behind it using her stealth ability, but could see Retro clear as day, and Retro couldn't see anything. And then we were just dying to shit like that, and we had no idea about it. So Fnatic definitely got lucky that we didn't smoke them. But then yeah, then we went into losers, and then we beat pretty much every Latin team there.
Yeah, Nip and FaZe.
Yeah, and
You
I've
7-0'd
me
Nip too. I had to rewatch that
yeah,
game last night.
me and Skies are like the Latinum like competition. Like we've never lost to them. The only ones that we've ever lost to was Pain Gaming, and that was back in 2018 Invitational. But
Yeah.
other than that, that was the only Latinum team that we ever lost to. But yeah, so we ended up coming out of losers. We beat FaZe, we beat NIP. Then we brought it back, got to main stage, which really sucks for me because that crowd was insane,
That
right?
was freaking insane.
It was super insane. And all the games before we were end up playing EG, because we played EG late, like at 10. I don't know. It was super late.
Oh
But like
yeah, it
when
was a
we
late
ended up
game.
playing EG, and those games were intense, the crowd, half the crowd was gone. When we won, like pretty much the entire crowd was gone, and it sucked. It was like, like I live for that hype. I live for that crowd. And like it was really shitty not having the big crowd there. Because then the next day when we got to play against G2 and we ended up losing, that fucking crowd was filled. Everybody was there. Every seat was full. And it was like, nice. Now when we're actually playing, everybody's here. Like everybody's here. But when we were winning and doing all that, nobody was there. It was shitty. But it was nice being on that stage, having that experience again, being so close but coming so short. And at least we always seem to lose to the team that wins it all. Every single time. We always lose to the champions.
That's fair. Let's talk about that EG game. That shit became really close. Watching that was, as an EG fan at the time, was freaking heartbreaking because I feel like every time a game gets that close versus EG, especially on land, it just becomes a sketchy win. Like, how can they pull this shit out? Like, you guys were like,
Yeah. No, they smoked us on Oregon, the first map. I think they went up like 7. I think it was like 7-2, 7-1. I don't know. We got fucking blown out of the water against EG on Oregon, which Oregon was one of their best maps. We knew we had to take them to one of their best maps. They were going to get one of their best maps regardless because of how the bans work. Then we went into Villa, which we felt comfortable on. We knew that they were comfortable on, but we also knew we were comfortable on it. We ended up winning that. That game was a nail biter. Then we went into Coastline to finish it. And I had like one of the best performances, I feel like, in that whole series. Like that was like my like moment. Like Oregon, I didn't really get to do anything. Villa, I did all right. I was doing what needed to be done, but then like Coastline, I felt like I just really put my all into it. Every last little bit of energy I had just was put into that last match. And then I think we won 7-5,
7-4. Yeah.
7-4. Yeah, but Troy was not trying to let some of those rounds go. I'll tell you that. Troy was like almost clutching 1v4s multiple times. I think 3 different times. And the last round, he almost clutched it in a
'Cause you were on tarp.
1v4.
Yeah, you
I
were
was on tarp. Yeah,
Dude,
purple
that
tarp.
was so
I love
sketchy.
purple tarp. I love purple tarp. That bomb was planted in such a perfect, like, imagine where the bomb was planted, and I'm outside the map on purple tarp watching the bomb. Like,
That was
Troy wasn't winning
heartbreaking, man.
that.
I was
There
like,
was
"There's
no
no way
fucking
he
way.
wins this." I don't even think he knew
Yeah.
at the time. I didn't think he
Nah,
had time. I think he started sticking. I was like, "Fuck."
I was like, fuck Troy. Like, go for this bomb. I'm murking your shit. And then he went for it. But yeah, so then we won. And then, like I said, then we played against G2, which like I said, that's the G2. That was the Penta. That team to me was like by far the most dominant. Um, that I don't know, like it's how those guys played was just so smart. It was so smart. Their gunplay was really well. Their strats were really well. But yeah, then we ended up losing to them. I feel like if we would have won, because we threw Clubhouse, we should have won that map. And I feel like if we would have won that map, like they definitely smoked us on Coastline, but I think we were also in our own heads after losing Clubhouse. But I feel like if we would have won Clubhouse, they would have won Coastline. Then I feel like we could have won the third map. But obviously, that's not how it went. Things definitely unfolded on our end going into Coastline. There was at one point that I'm not going to say, it's kind of a joke between us 5, me, Retro, Skies, Fox, and Mark, that in between in between the match on Coastline, things were said to each other and some people in the match that, like, at that point everyone was like, yeah, this game's over, like, let's just get this shit over with. So
Okay.
yeah,
How do you bounce back from that? Like looking past that and like
I mean,
I've heard a
fuck, we
lot
did
about
bounce back
that.
from it. We came back to Japan. We ended up qualifying for Japan right after that.
Yeah,
So we
100%.
definitely bounced back. But I don't know. It's just kind of. I mean, we look back on it now, we laugh, but definitely at the time it sucks because, like, we could have been the best team at Invite. We should have won it. We could have won it, but we just kind of let emotions and just everything kind of break us. I think we were definitely kind of an emotional team in a sense, whereas, like, you know, people weren't feeling good, people were this, that, like we were kind of out of the game. Whereas I think time went on after that, we just kind of got better with it. But yeah, going into Japan, I mean, going into the next season, we barely qualified
Yeah, you guys are third.
for, yeah, we barely qualified. We ended up making second, beating LG, which those guys went so fucking dumb hard against us. And yeah, we ended up then qualifying for Japan. I feel we could have won Japan for sure. We choked big time. And that was kind of what we were notorious for. Like, we were a really well-rounded team, but we choked in so many different areas. Like, the teams didn't like beat us. We beat ourselves, which was the worst part. Like, I don't mind, like, losing sucks, but losing is fucking awful when you know that everyone on your team could have just played it better and that you just like gave those teams that opening and that opportunity. Whereas, like, with one small little change that you could have done or position or whatever, like, could have won you the round, won you the game. And we beat ourselves so many different times in so many different events, so many different matches. And yeah, so Japan was kind of shitty, but I will say that Japanese crowd, in terms of any fan base in the world, Japan has by far the best fan base out there. Nobody was mean. Nobody was rude. Everyone was just so welcoming. Everyone loved our team. And I think that had a lot to do with Fox just being like all K-pop look and shit. But I don't know. Those fans were absolutely amazing. The atmosphere, they cheered on every team. They had their favorite teams, but they cheered on every team. They made every team and player feel welcomed, appreciated, cared for. Japan by far was the best um, fan base that you could play in front of, and I miss it.
That-
I'll take that fan base over NA, Brazil, Europe.
Oh,
I'll,
damn,
I'll
over
take
Brazil.
Japan. Yeah, 100%. I'll take Japan's fan base any day. And not to say that I don't love my fans, you know, from all over, but Japan as a whole, amazing, absolutely amazing.
So I'm sort of curious. I want to backtrack a little bit to Pro League Season 9 because you guys placed third there compared to back in C9 when you guys placed sixth. Like, obviously the Skies change worked, but how exactly can you speak more on like what changed in the team when Skies was on the team that helped you guys get better placements in Pro League?
It was just kind of having more firepower. And like I said, not that Goddess isn't talented in any way, shape, or form. She's very skilled and is a very good player. But in terms of experience, Skies has way more experience and was just better overall. And like I said, I don't mean to sound to discredit Lauren in any way, shape, or form because Lauren is very good in her own ways. But Skies was just what we needed. We needed more firepower. We needed more entry. We needed more just skill in terms of what was needed. And that definitely just brought more it just brought more into the team's like fundamentals and everything, and just allowed us to perform better.
Skies felt like he disregards the dream hacks you guys played in 2019. Montreal,
Yeah,
Valencia.
I
What are your thoughts
mean,
on them?
yeah, I don't know. We again, it was we choked. We choked many different rounds that could have been in our favor, many different rounds that could have ultimately determined wins versus losses. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough dealing with that. Because like I said, losing is one thing, but losing because you lost to yourself, that's the worst. And that's what that team did a lot is we lost to ourselves. We didn't even lose because the other team was just playing better. We just lost because of our own mistakes that easily could have been avoided, but happened on the reg.
Okay, so after talking about finals, you guys drop Mark,
Yep.
which and I think I can speak for a huge amount of people. Like I've had conversations with about this change. I
Mhm.
think the community views Mark not for some reason. Like I don't think a lot of people have respect for him as a player. I was hoping you could enlighten us to like your time with him, and then like eventually why dropping him.
No, Mark was an extremely great player. I think what happens with some players at the time is they just get too comfortable on a team, and I think Mark definitely got a little comfortable, and I think he can even admit that. And it's not to, like I said, it's not to discredit anyone that we've dropped or to talk bad about them because I would never do that. Mark was one of the best teammates that I've ever teamed with. He's super funny, super fun to play with, but I think he just got a little too comfortable and just all of us teaming together and like that team dynamic and how we all were with each other. It was definitely like really great friendships. We all got along very well. We shared tons of laughs, tons of memories, but I just think sometimes some people get caught up in that where then like it feels less of a career and it's just more of a friendship. Whereas me, Skies, and Fox definitely were more like we respected the friendships, but we also were very serious about competing and wanting to stay at the top and be at the top at all times. Whereas I think Mark definitely coasted a little bit in that area. But I mean, it's not, I don't think Mark should be discredited in any way, shape, or form by the community. I mean, even just seeing him on tempo, like he's played extremely well. So, and I think that definitely might have put something into perspective for him because when he started playing with us towards the end and what he was doing on tempo, he was doing what he was doing on tempo way early on with us than what was happening at the end. And no, I think Mark is an extremely talented player. I think sometimes, you just go through those bumps and you just have to bite them in the ass the second they start happening and realize it, than just letting it, coast and then something can happen. But yeah, I would never discredit Mark on anything by any means.
I was gonna speak on that. How do you feel like you keep yourself in check when it comes to not coasting or getting lost in the
Um,
fact that you've already made it?
I just understand every day, and maybe this also goes with how I grew up in life, but nothing comes easy in life, in my opinion. I also don't want to be someone that's handed things. And in terms of gaming, I never want to be the person that, gets viewed as like, if you weren't playing with those players, you're just getting carried your shit or something like that. I always wanted to be someone that like maybe stood out and someone that, performed, someone that did well, someone that was being talked about or something like that. So for me, it's just a matter of like, I do understand, you know, you will make friendships, you are going to have friendships, but the sooner that I realized, especially early on in my career, that it's not about playing with friends, like this is your career and that this is what it should be. Like friendships are whatever, but the career is the most important thing because you aren't going to team with everyone. Like me and Sky's like, look, we aren't teammates now, you know. Um, Still good friends, but it just goes to show is like, you know, people have to make their own decisions. People have to make selfish decisions, and the better you're performing and doing compared to others, the more opportunities you're going to have as a player to make selfish decisions, to do things that are going to be more in your favor versus someone that, you know, just coast, because then you aren't going to have options. You aren't going to be able to do things that you want to do because you just coasted. So I don't know. I just always put into perspective, like, you know, it's put me so much time and effort to get to where I'm at today. Why coast now and just sell myself short and not just put in the extra work to be better or to just have a better outcome of something? So yeah, I don't really let myself coast that much. Obviously, I have moments where I have, you know, like um I get what's the word I'm looking for? Uh Have like a
Complacent?
mental not complacent. I never allow myself to get complacent. I'm not a complacent person in terms of like my career and stuff like that. Um what's the word I'm looking for? I'm like having a mental block right now. Holy shit. Um
What's the attribute? Like what
just
exactly?
like I can't believe like I'm having a mental block right now. Uh oh my god, it's like literally on the tip of my tongue. Holy shit. Um Holy shit.
Hopefully we
Like
can cruise past it and you can find it.
I've used this word so many times throughout my career, and it's just and now it's just not like popping in my head. I'm just having like a complete mental block. But we can just move past that. I'll touch back on that later if it comes to me.
Okay, sounds good. So, after Tokonami, there's a huge trade happening. Do you want to speak a little bit on that timeline and what that meant for the team when Skies decided he wanted to go to DZ? And you guys having to pick up Knicks for that trade. Was there a lot of option you guys could pick there? Did you guys
So
have to pick up Knicks there?
that was the whole reason, and like we definitely fucked over Mark, and it was completely on accident. We definitely told him this, but like Mark got fucked over. Like we never meant to have Mark be unable to like compete like that. Like we wanted to allow him to find a team, and we got fucked in that decision that Skies made because originally Skies wanted to play with Vert, and we all wanted to get Vert, but we had to make a roster change, and it was either between Retro or Mark. But when we all discussed, we were like, okay, Mark is going to be the option. We'll pick up Vert, and it'll be me, Skies, Vert, Fox, and Retro. But then Vert was having issues on his end of being picked up. So, like, time was dwindling, you know, like things needed to happen. And Skies immediately was like, all right, well, this is taking too long. This isn't happening. So I'm going to join DZ. And as this was all happening, he leaves, he gets signed, and then like literally within the next 2 days after he gets signed to DZ, Vert gets the okay to be able to be picked up. And then it was like, you know, what the fuck? You know, what just happened here? So then we get Vert, but in that transition of Skies and Knicks, we had no idea we were getting Knicks. They DZ and Reciprocity did a trade. They
It
were
was a
gonna give
trade
money.
contract.
They were gonna give
Jesus.
money for Skies, but also give us Knicks. So like Knicks wasn't even, and it's not to even like say anything bad about Knicks, but like we never even discussed about picking up Knicks. It was kind of just like, all right, you guys are playing with Knicks now. You guys got Vert, so now it's gonna be you, Fox, Knicks, Vert, and Retro. And we're like, well, we got one of the players, but we didn't think we were gonna get this player. We didn't even discuss this player, but then I mean, it worked out kind of, because if you look at DreamHack, I mean not DreamHack, but USN, we took second. We got smoked by Space Station, but we took second. Like we were performing really well against the other teams. Granted, TSM also was playing with Timsy because I don't think Pojo could play.
Yeah,
I think
Bojo's
that's what that was. Yeah.
Canadian.
So maybe that could have been different for sure, but we were performing well, and I mean, yeah, it just wasn't. It started out good. It was going good, and then things just kind of started just going bad from there, like almost immediately after that. And then we played Pro League. We won our matches. We still placed top four, I'm pretty sure, that
Yeah,
season.
you guys are
Yeah.
fourth.
Yeah, we placed fourth. But after Invitational, that's when, like, and I honestly, like, I blame myself too, because that was one of my worst performances at any LAN event was at the Invitational. And it sucked that all of a sudden, like, I just wasn't, I just felt like I just couldn't do anything. Like, I don't know what was going on. I was just having tons of problems. and I just wasn't playing at my best. And I started performing really well at the end
That's the freaking
of
worst.
playing against BDS. Like that's when I started feeling myself. Like I started making plays. I started doing what I was normally doing. And even when I was doing bad, it's not so when I say like I'm doing bad, it's not like I'm shitting the bed. I'm just not playing at the level that I'm typically playing at. Like I don't think I've ever really just shit the bed. And I don't really like try to allow myself to shit the bed, but I'm just not playing at my standard and better. But I really started feeling myself towards the end of the BDS. Well, not end the BDS, but at the start versus BDS. And then we ended up losing and we could have won that. Like, again, we could have won. We threw our own games and it just, yeah, I mean, Fox and Vert were really going off. But then, yeah, after us losing and not placing really well, then we decided to make the roster change again, and dropping Nyx and Retro, and then picking up Bio and Slash.
What was your game plan heading into the Grues of that invitation? Because you guys were going to play G2 first. You'd
Well, we
lost to
knew
them.
we knew G2 wasn't the G2 that they were, and me personally, that's why I say like playing the G2 before that invite, and everything else, like that was the team that I thought was the hardest. But then we played against them this invite, well, that last invite, and they just really weren't that good, in my opinion, compared to what they were. Not to, like I said, not to discredit any of them, but they just weren't the team that I was used to playing against because we 7-0'd them. Like that would have
Yeah, you
never
guys
happened
7 of
with
them
the
in
old
club.
G2. And we could have beat them. We 100% could have beat. We could have beat them. We could have beat BDS. We could have beat G2. Like we could have won those games, but we threw so many rounds against so many teams, and then yeah, we ended up losing. Then we went in to play Wildcard, beat Wildcard pretty easy. Then played BDS, could have beat BDS, choked, then went into the last map and just completely got shut down. And then yeah, and that was the end of our invite run. And then kind of from there, that's when we started talking like, okay, we need to make changes. Like this just isn't working. It's like things just need to be different. And then yeah, then time went on. We dropped both Nyx and Retro, and then we picked up Slash and Bio.
I just want to hear your opinion on Nyx there because I think everyone else I've had on the pod seemed to say that on a LAN environment he seemed to either get shaky or not play the same. Do you feel like that was a huge reason why you guys didn't perform well in six invitational?
Um, Not necessarily. I wouldn't say that. Because like I said, even for myself, like if I'd have been performing better, I think we had also done better as a whole. It's just another person that you can rely on. But I wasn't someone that like was making plays or anything like that. So I kind of just felt like I was out of it. But no, I wouldn't say that about Nyx. I think Nyx's issue is he lacks life experience in many areas. And it also shows in terms of just like knowledge on things. And it's not like I said, it's not to say Nyx is a bad player by any means, but he definitely has some growing up to do. And I think it's important as a player, especially a young player, to grow up and understand how some things work and how they don't work instead of just trying to, be this, be that, or whatever the case is. So, no, I don't think Nyx being at LAN, him shaking this or that, because I don't really think that at all. And that wasn't my experience with him. It was just more fundamentals and experience with many other things that just he lacked. And that just comes with time and with experience happening to him. So I think as time goes on, it's just a matter of not focusing on the negative things that have happened to you. It's more just taking those in and how to not have those same outcomes that I feel that he keeps running into over and over and over. So I definitely think it's just a maturity thing for him. And I think that can easily be corrected with time.
Why retro?
Um, Retro just so it's the same thing with Retro and Mark is again, it was just the coasting thing. Like when Retro's playing and when he's on top of his game, like Retro's insane. Retro's such a smart player and a really good player, but I feel like it was just the team dynamic of him just being comfortable and not feeling as if, he can't be replaced or this or that. Where like I said, me, Fox, we're always worried about our play. If we have a bad scrim, we have a bad match, like we really beat it into ourselves and are really hard on ourselves, even when we don't need to be. But I feel like, that's what really defines good players from not so good players is like, even when you have a bad game and you've been having, 20 other significant, you know, incredible games and you have one bad game, you really beat yourself up. And I always beat myself up, even if I'm not even having the best game. So I just kind of feel it's one of those things with American Wrestler that they kind of just coasted a little bit and just might not as put much effort that they were putting in the beginning of it all. And that was kind of the reason. It had nothing to do with like personalities or anything, because Retro is such a cool dude, like super funny. All those guys are super fucking funny and just fun to be with. But in just terms of career, like you need to, if you want to make it anywhere, like you got to have 5 people that are on the same level of competition and wanting to strive to be better and play better and just be better as a whole. So that's why we dropped retro for that reason. It was just again, it was the mark situation as well, just the coasting that I feel like could have been corrected. And we tried correcting. Like we weren't people who just were like, you're done. Like we gave them talks, we let them know, like, like you gotta step it up, you gotta do something. But I just feel like it didn't click as fast as maybe they wanted it to, or as they might have thought that they were trying. And we had to make changes to feel like it was for the better. And to be fair, I mean, I think that we've improved in areas. I don't think it's like changed significantly in a sense of like, we're still placing third and fourth, but I feel like with the team that we currently have right now, we definitely like, I feel this is the best that we've been since like not having that old rec roster.
Okay. I'm sort of curious. Is there a space when these players are on the team and potentially coasting to have that conversation with them and let them know that like, or just have a checkup like as a team
We'll
talk to make sure
typically
everyone's
do
on the
it.
same page?
We'll typically do it after lands, or we'll do it during or after scrims and just try to like embed it in people's heads. Like, like we understand you might be going through something, things are going on, but like this is still your career and you have to really be focusing and putting stuff into it. Because even for myself, I went through some like really, really bad stuff in life. That's the one thing that I really hate about esports is your whole world can be falling apart, maybe not your game stuff, but like literally your whole world around you can just be falling apart, and there are no days off. There's no I need to take a break. There's no I need some time to myself. It's literally you have to keep living in that moment of your professional career and keep going. Like there's no break. There's literally no break. It's always a constant go, constant go. There's no time to feel sorry for yourself, feel bad about what's going on. You always just have to compete. And there's been so many areas, and I don't really feel sorry for some people that make excuses, because just through my experience, I've went through some serious shit throughout my career, and not once have I fucking talked about it. I just kept playing. I kept doing what I had to do and just put everything to the side for that moment and just focused on my career and didn't let those things consume me. Whereas I see so many people let shit like that consume them and let it be an excuse, because no one really fucking cares at the end of the day in gaming. I mean, maybe some do, but in terms of competing, no one cares. They want you on top of your shit at the end of the day. So that's where I'm saying there's just no time to grieve and feel sorry for yourself. You just have to keep going, and it sucks. It really sucks, and it's mentally draining.
Okay, that's fair. I want to speak a little bit more on that. I'm curious how you have you been able to create space for yourself, like in any way, to maybe heal or not let things like that build up? Because recently I've been having conversations with a counselor just about efficient communication with people, and I realize when I let things build up inside me, at
Hmm.
some point they blow up, and it
Oh
might
yeah,
be blowing up at the wrong
definitely.
person, at my teammates.
Yeah, definitely.
How have you dealt with that?
Well, that's the thing that like if I am having a bad day or something's going on, like I'd let my teammates know. I don't, because it's definitely important to have good chemistry and a good work environment with your teammates. So if you're just someone that's just keeping shit to yourself, and I'm not saying I go in depth on what's going on, but like I'll let my teammates know, like, I'm having a bad day. Like if I seem irritable or something like that, like just ignore it. Like I'm just having a bad day. I don't hold that and then one day I blow at them, because in esports, some people are a little too sensitive where you say something to them and then they instantly take it as an attack, and then next thing you know, you're getting talked about being dropped. I'm not saying that's happened to me. I've just seen it happen before. And me personally, I think some people also need to just grow up and understand. People have shit that goes on in life outside of gaming, and it's not. I mean, as much as I say it is about game, but some people, it's definitely a maturity thing in esports, which a lot of people lack. A lot of people just think it's like this, and a lot of people just think it's like that, and they just ignore real life stuff. It's all about gaming, but um, yeah, I mean, I always, like I said, I just let my teammates know that I'm having a bad day, something's going on. So if I seem irritable, it's this or that. So that way they don't take it the wrong way if I do blow up or I do get mad. And I think that's the best way to go about. And then after, when you're done and you're not streaming, you just kind of you find something to take your mind off it, or you just do something. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've never really found something that like fully, makes me feel better. I've just learned to deal with it. I think that's really what it comes down to is I've just learned to deal with it and just kind of brush it off, as shitty as that is, but that's just kind of how it is.
This might be a tad bit of a personal question, but how do you
I'll
feel
go for it.
like it? How challenging do you think it is to balance like relationships with esports?
Are you talking like with girlfriends?
Yeah, we're girlfriends.
Oh, again, that comes to a maturity thing. I think if you, especially, I mean, one, it's extremely important that your significant other understands your career and what it takes to be what you're doing. And I also find it easier to if you find like because I was in a relationship throughout the majority of my career. For 2 years of my career, I was in a long distance relationship, and I made it work. I competed. I did just fine. I was a top player. Um, and I think it's very important also to find somebody that has that same drive for like a work ethic and stuff like that, that also understands, how important their career is and what they need to be doing to get done. That, both parties understand that you guys have your career. You have to do what has to get done to, not only have a good life for yourself, but also you guys can share that with each other. And a lot of people sometimes on both sides, both girls and guys, like don't realize like how important that other person's career is, and that's where problems can happen. And yeah, I mean, it's again, it just comes down to a maturity thing. And I don't know. In my experience with a lot of gamers, not just even pro gamers, streamers, content creators, anything, a lot of people lack life experience and are also very immature and very unrealistic with how some things are in life.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like I can even speak a little bit on that. I feel like um I got into a relationship and then it was long distance, which was fair and fine because like yeah, I could just
Mhm.
call when I needed to give the person attention, but then the person started living in my city and things became a whole lot of different and like needed a different level of
Yeah, no,
attention.
it's definitely a balance thing. I mean, as like I said, as long as both parties understand, where the priority is, and it's also not an excuse to also neglect the person you're talking to. Like, I feel like if you aren't mature enough to also handle a relationship on top of your career, then you shouldn't be in a relationship. But I can do it. I can handle my career and also have a relationship at the same time. Again, it all just comes down to a maturity thing as a whole. And
Okay.
once someone shows me they can't respect that and all that, then it's kinda like, "Fuck that," you know? Like, I want someone who understands what I do for a living, and I also want to understand what that other person does for a living, and then just kinda build something together and, just keep doing what we have to do in order to be successful and maintain a healthy relationship.
Awesome. All right, let's get back to season
Yep, sounds
11 of
good.
Pro League here. I'm actually going to ask a question because all through the roster changes, one person seems to have been a staple, I think, since C9 when Robin was your coach. Tell me
Yeah.
about Hopes because he doesn't seem to be the most open person in social media. So like he's not tweeting coach quotes and shit like that. So we can't tell his how he
Yeah.
sees the game. What kind of coach
Mhm.
is Hopes?
Hopes is a extremely good coach. He's also a pro player. He was a old Vegas pro, so he has very good experience and game knowledge. Um, of Siege as a whole, and just his age also. I mean, he's very experienced, he's very smart and well-rounded guy, so that also comes into play as coaching. He definitely doesn't feel like he needs to be on Twitter tweeting shit or coach quotes, and I'm kind of glad he doesn't. It's just for me, like I'm glad my coach doesn't do that. But just everything as a whole, like Hopes is a really cool dude. I've known him since I started my career, so me and him have a pretty good close friendship. But he also understands like it's not about friendships. He knows it's career, and the work that he puts in is, I think, a lot more than what other coaches might do. Even if other teams are doing better, I think that comes down a lot to the players as well. Whereas like we might lack in some of those areas, but are still working on it. We're still a new team, but no, coach does a shit ton of work. And to touch up on coach's Redeemer that we also brought in, Redeemer is also an ex-pro player on console and PC, and Redeem also carries that experience of playing professionally at the highest level, and then also just with his age, he also's experienced with many other things. And I just feel those two as coaches, in my opinion, and obviously this is a biased opinion, I feel that those two are the best coaches in the entire league.
Okay. Yeah, that is a biased opinion, but I respect it.
Definitely.
um, yeah. So, why Bio and Slash? I think the last we heard of Biologic was TSM, and then he left TSM. We
Yeah.
don't have to go into conversations about that,
Yeah,
but like,
for sure.
why picking up Bio, and then why Slash at the same time?
So Fox and Skies both kind of IGL'd on our old team. And then Skies obviously left. So then Fox kind of took a little bit of the IGL leadership with Nyx. But Fox really just, did I say Fox or did I say Skies again?
You said Fox.
Okay, good. Yeah, Fox and Nyx were kind of doing IGL stuff. But then as time went on, like Fox definitely just wanted more focus on playing and not IGLing as much. And then obviously we got rid of Nyx. So that was kind of we needed an IGL, and from the talks that we've had with people and trying out people, like Bio is definitely a good fit in terms of an IGL that we needed, and he makes really good strats, makes really good calls. And I mean, even in this first split, like we placed third, we could have been first, things could have went either way into this first split. Obviously the major was shitty, but so that's why we picked up Bio was for his IGL roles and all this stuff. And then Slash, we just needed a really good support player. And seeing Slash on Rogue and Luminosity, like Slash showed, like he can play. He's very versatile in both on offense and defense. And just, that's someone that we needed that, if we needed them to play a support role, like Slash could do that and do it extremely well. So we never really had that. And bringing Slash on definitely fit that role that we were lacking in. So yeah, those were the two big factors on why we both picked up Bio and Slash, and also because they were experienced players as well.
I know Pro League Season 11 didn't have like relegations on the table, so did you guys use that as an opportunity to, get as many games under that roster as possible and learn, or was it more just like you guys were trying to win that? What were your goals heading into Pro League Season 11 with that roster?
It was just, we were just coming in, just trying to get the fundamentals down and the chemistry down. So, I mean, we put a lot of prep into it and finishing it strong, but, it was still, we were just playing and seeing, what it was going to come. And I mean, we all felt good. We all felt comfortable even after it. And it was just kind of from there to just improve and be better.
What are your thoughts on the NEL first, the first stage of this?
I was good. I do miss playing against every other team. I'm not a huge fan of how the bracket is, but it was fun. It was extremely well. Our performance was really well. But we came up short as always and placed third. But we're still kind of the newer team here, so I feel, with more time we could definitely be where we need to be, and you have to have those hiccups and run into those bumps in the road, and jump those hurdles as a new team to really just get the fundamentals down and really understand how each of the five players really works together and to just be better as a whole. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just a time thing. I have no doubt in my mind that this team can be first place.
What did you think of the DG game? The first game you guys played in NEL?
Nick's running the skins over and over again. That shit was annoying. It was funny though. But then when we lost, I was like, man, like what the fuck is going on? But then we won the next game. So it worked out. But it's always fun playing against old teammates. Fox was really having fun with it, talking shit. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was interesting.
What about the SSG one?
The first one or the second one?
Well, the first one. What was your game plan heading into that? Because I think a lot of people were surprised that you guys won that. I don't know. Maybe expectations were a lot lower.
The one thing that I don't like is when we beat them the first time, like clearly the games were extremely close. It was like 8-7 and then
7-5, yeah.
7-5. And I made a joke or whatever saying like, oh, we shit on SSG, blah, blah. And it's all in good fun. Like I never mean anything that I say. It's just all in good fun. It's just for Twitter and all that shit. And then we end up beating TSM after. And I talked shit there, which was all joking. It was all for fun and games. Then we then we played them SSG again. And then the one thing that I don't like about bracket is like we went 3-0. Like we were the only team that was 3-0 in like both sides of the bracket. Like we were the only team that went 3-0. And what was shitty is like, we never got a chance to lose. When we did lose, we instantly lost our spot for first place. And I understand that it went into a different format, but like I just figured for the only team having a 3-0 record at the time, like how come the one game that we lose that's it. Like our first place run is over. Like SSG came back from losers and then came back and getting first with already having losses where we had 0 losses and we just lost our first game. And then it was like, all right, well, you guys can't get first anymore. At that point, I was kind of like, well, that's kind of fucking stupid. I don't really like that aspect of it. Like, there's really like, sure, we had a week off, but like that's not really like this great incentive, like you're still, I don't know, it doesn't really do anything. Like, great, you had a week off while every other team is still grinding and all that. You're still grinding, so it's not really like you even had the week off. You just aren't playing one game that week.
Yeah, that's
So I
fair.
didn't really feel any, like, I thought it was kind of stupid. The one time that we lost, we can't get first, we're instantly playing for second, and then we lose that, and then we're third. It's fucking dumb. But yeah, so then we lost to SSG again, and then like people like started talking shit. And the one thing that I don't like that people do is like they see 2-0 on the board and they're like, oh, like when we lose, like when we lost, like when we win, like people like want to praise us. Then when we lost, people were like, honestly, OXG just didn't show up today. They weren't looking like the team they were, the last time they played them. And I was like, we literally lost the same score that they lost to us. Like we lost 7-8 and 5-7, and that's what they lost to. But like for some reason that day we didn't show up. We were shit. Like every time we lost it, like the casters and everything just made it seem like we just absolutely got fucking like obliterated. And it was just like I don't know, it was fucking stupid.
I
But
can
then
see
going
how
to
that
the
can be
TSM,
frustrating.
oh, it's just like I think CGG actually just needs to put like the scores of the maps. Like you can put like 2-0 or just actually just show like the record of the map, like how it went down. But people see TO and it's instantly, 2-0, and people instantly are like, oh, they got fucking slaughtered. And it was just like, all right, yeah, we didn't show up. We lost 7-8 and 5-7, but we didn't show up. We definitely could have done better. But yeah, so then we lost to TSM. And they got to talk their shit. They did all their stuff. And the thing is, like, when I talk shit again, like, it's all for good fun. Like, I don't really care. It's it's just funny to me. Some people take it personally, but I don't really care. At the end of the day, it's all for fun. But yeah, so then we lost to them. Then we got third. But I mean, I definitely felt just as a whole with our team dynamic, like, we're a really good team. We can easily be first. Obviously, that major showing was fucking horrendous. And I am very disappointed even to this day that we weren't the team that we were playing in that first split. But again, it's those mistakes that I was talking about that every team has to go through before they start, really being the best team that they can possibly be. It sucks that it, happens when it does, but to me, it has to happen. And, it's never a good timing. It's never a good time to be shit and play bad, but it has to happen in order to improve.
I think that's totally fair. Yeah, like I watched the games. Like I've rewatched that VOD with my stream a couple times, just trying to see why those
Yeah, no,
losses happened. Versus
it was
TSM.
simply we played like shit. If we're talking the major specifically, we were playing like shit on top of it. I feel like we could have made it closer, but TSM also really played a really good game of season. I think personally that was the best TSM that I've ever played against. Ever. I think that was the best TSM I've ever played.
100%. Like I watched I think it was the Oregon game versus TSM.
Yeah, they were shutting down everything, like every possible play that someone was trying to, like, they weren't, the thing is they wouldn't let anyone even like get hot. Like no one could even like get warmed up. Like they were immediately, like when someone maybe felt like they were about to do something, they were just getting shut down. So like it was just bringing down the morale like constantly.
How do you like mid game? Like how do you fix that when you're in game? When you realize that this other team definitely has a tempo up?
I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. It's just trying to do something different. And then if that gets shut down, I mean, something has to work eventually, but if you don't do it fast, then you're kind of shit out of luck. And you just got to then focus on the next game, which we did. We played an extremely good game against SSG. We kind of accepted that we were losing to TSM, and then we're like, all right, well, this is it. Like, we really have to focus up against SSG and play how we should be playing. And we did. We came really close to beating SSG and then fell short. Again, due to choking rounds. We lost 2v4s, 2v5s back to back. That would have won us Coastline. We would have won 7-5. But we choked both those and lost.
What did you think of the final, Dark Zero versus TSM?
I kind of had a feeling that DZ was going to win the whole thing after how they were showing out against everybody. Like, those guys were playing insane.
What I thought was really interesting was after watching the TSM game versus Oxygen, and
Mhm.
seeing how they played you guys on Oregon, it was fascinating to me that they didn't actually change anything heading into the grand final.
No,
They played
they
it the
just played
complete
the
same
game.
way. And I felt like Dark Zero was completely ready for that. So everything they did versus you guys, they tried to do versus DZ, but DZ was like in a way better position to take that fight and not get caught off guard.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is where I can bring up a question. I remember in the Oregon game you played Jackal and I think you killed the Cheed when he was in basement.
Yeah, when it was basement.
There's a philosophy of the way people see you as a player, LaXIng, where they call you a baiting player. What are
Mhm.
your thoughts on that? What is your philosophy on the game though? Because you're obviously a gifted player. Why does your team
Um,
put you in these spots where you take these solo engagements or you're last in? Why aren't you on the front lines?
it's just the role that I play. I mean, I feel like I play it the best. When people view it as baiting, I don't think some people understand the game and how it's played. Because my thing is, so if you look at it like this, like for example, when we played SSG on Coastline the first time, I was on top of the roof and I got 2 kills from the roof. And that's on flank watch. My whole team that's doing the push dies, and then of course I'm the last one that's going to be there. That's not baiting. That's like I'm doing my part on my side of the map that I'm supposed to be doing. And if my team dies doing what they're supposed to be doing, then I have to come over. Of course, that's going to be the situation. Yeah, then it looks like I'm the last alive. Like what was I'm doing? But I'm watching flank. I'm supposed to be the furthest away from the team because I'm making sure that my team doesn't have to worry about being hit from the back. Like they get to focus on everything that's in front of them. They don't need to worry about why am I getting shot in the back? Who's pushing my back? Oh, I need to focus on my back. Like I relieve pressure from my team that they know. And I think I'm one of the best flank watchers in the game.
100%.
And it's like people think that's bad, but I also think a lot of people just don't understand that's how the game is. Like they don't understand how the game is played because, like I said, that's not if I'm doing my part and then people die on their part, that's just how that is, then yeah, of course I'm rotating. That's just the way it is. But if it's successful, then it's not viewed as baiting, which I don't really understand that. Like I'll never view that as baiting because it's like I can't do other people's roles when I'm doing someone else's role. It just doesn't work like that. It's just, it's just certain roles and that's just how it is. And the solo like roaming and taking engagements, I mean, I just play very methodical and, I play slow when I need to and I play aggressive when I need to. It just really depends on the situation. And personally, like, I don't give a fuck what people think. I play how I play. I've been competing for 5 years. I have titles underneath my name. I have a lot of top 3 placings in many different things. Like, my, you know, like I said, I just really don't fucking care. If people understand the game, they understand the game. If people don't, they don't. At the end of the day, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna keep doing what my team needs me to do, and that's just the way it is.
Word. So you don't like. I think something that I find interesting is like you don't actually play the game like ranked or whatever. Do you feel like that makes you play? I feel like that makes you play differently than other people, like, or at least do things people might seem unexpected, right? Because like you don't
Yeah, I
really play the
mean,
game the meta way.
I've been streaming and playing ranked recently, and honestly, if I'm gonna be real with you, I think this is the most I've played Siege outside of like scrims and all that, probably within the last year. Like this is probably by far the most that I've played Siege within the last year. Every other time I wasn't playing Siege, I just played other games outside of Siege. And I've played Siege for so long. I mean, I've been playing for 5 years. The thing is, Siege has not changed one bit. If anything, it's gotten progressively worse in ranked. Things that I see my teammates and other pro players like stream against, like that's not. There's no skill that's put into that. You are not getting better. Like you're just playing against dumb shit, and things work, things don't work. But in terms of like it's not in that high ranked environment, and I've been there plenty of times, especially in the earlier years of getting champion or diamond, whatever the fuck it was at the time, is at that high level and ranked, it's not even I tell people all the time, ranks do not fucking matter. Like they really don't. When you play in that high level of champion, it's people doing literally whatever they can to possibly get the win. It has nothing to do with outplaying the other team. It's nothing to do with being smart. It's literally do whatever you possibly fucking can to win. Whether it's stream sniping, whether it's cheating, whether it's playing like a complete fucking moron, like it doesn't matter as long as you get that win. That's just what it is. So me personally, I just don't care to play in that because it's not something that I don't play against even when I'm playing in Pro League and scrims. It's nothing like that. You know, So I try to avoid it because I feel like it's just gonna dumb me down as a player. So yeah, that's kind of just my take on it.
I think that's a completely fair take. I think a lot of amateur players tend to have this take as well, but I'm not sure how it transfers to someone who is trying to make it to the top or trying to make it to Pro League. I feel like having to play tons of ranked is sort of how you get your name out there, because you get to play with or against pros in a ranked environment, and that's how you build those connections. I feel like.
Yeah, and I'm not discrediting anybody, especially like AMs that play ranked every day and go hard. Like go hard, go and do what you need to do. Like but to me, it does nothing for me as a player. Like there's no benefits of me playing ranked and playing against stuff like that. So I don't mean to make it sound like I'm shitting on people that play like that. Like do whatever the fuck you want, but for me, it's just not something that makes me better as a player.
What would
Like
you?
I would rather, huh?
Oh, go on.
I was gonna say, like, I play casual. Well, like I said, now I've been playing ranked, but like before, like I was playing casual and shit like that. And like, I could rush in and just kill people, which I've done, but I also just played casual to just practice repetitions of droning myself in and doing things solo. And me personally, playing solo queue, I think will make any player a better player because you aren't relying on anyone, you're relying on yourself. And if you watch my streams or watch me play ranked or anything like that, even in high plat and some diamond games, I'm literally fucking carrying my team, dropping 14 kills, 15 kills. Not that it even does anything for me. Like it is what it is. But I just play ranked and all that stuff. I don't care to play the objective. I literally just play for kills because I want to work on my gameplay and work on my play versus then just playing the objective because you aren't going to be able to play like structure in ranked with randoms. Like it's just not going to work. It's just the best way to play structures with your teammates. So I just mainly use it to just practice my own skill and my own talent and just get a repetition going and how to better myself.
What would you say your routine is? Do you think you have one that you sort
Um,
of follow on a daily basis, maybe?
no, not really. I just, I'll play Siege. I'll play, 2 to 3 hours of Siege unless I'm scrimming, then, I scrim. But, I'm not someone that has to go back in my own VODs and like watch what I'm doing wrong or something like that. I know what immediately I'm doing wrong and I try to fix it for the next time. Like aim trainers and all that stuff. I don't use any Kovacs. I don't use any aim trainer, like nothing. I just play. Play. I don't do T hunt. I don't do any of that. I feel T hunt doesn't really make you better. I mean, I understand with aim trainers and T hunt, it's a muscle memory of stuff, but for me, you know, how I view it, shooting at bots does nothing for me because you don't have that pressure of someone shooting back at you. You don't have that pressure of stupid movement or stuff like that. Whereas if you play even casual against randoms, they're going to be doing stupid shit. They're going to be in a weird spot. They're going to be holding a dumb angle. They're actually going to be shooting back at you. So it puts pressure on you to get that kill. Whereas when you play T Hunt or you shoot bots, you have no pressure to really get that kill besides like, oh, I just want to be fast or something like that. But there's really no pressure or any punishment if you miss your first shot or two shots. Whereas if you miss your first or two shots, even if it's a bad player, they can headshot you, they can kill you. So I just play to play like that, not shooting bots.
I think you sort of like, and in a lot of ways, are an icon of like fitness in our scene. Do you want to speak a little bit how you got into taking care of yourself physically, and do you feel like that affects your game in any way?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, working out by itself is a commitment. It's not just working out, it's eating right, it's sleeping, getting amount of sleep, getting amount of water in your body. Like I used to drink energy drinks before events, but now I just don't touch energy drinks. I literally just drink water, like Red Bulls and all that, like just make me feel sick and all that stuff. And they were great. They work, but I don't know. Water just works for me now. But yeah, I think being healthy and, knowing what you're putting in your body. Not that say right now I'm eating the best, but I do understand fitness. I do understand nutrition. I do understand what needs to be done in order to maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I've definitely done it. I've definitely worked on having a healthy lifestyle for a while. But yeah, I mean, I think having the mentality to just even work out is already something in and itself because it's a commitment. It's a huge commitment. It's, you really have to commit to working out and eating right and like seeing results and pushing yourself. And I feel that applies to everyday life. If you can really commit to something in order to improve and be better, then, there's no reason you can't do it in other areas. And I think fitness was definitely something that definitely sparked that. Um, Motivation to me to just be better as a whole is because I wasn't going to get anywhere going to the gym and not doing anything. You have to go to the gym and push yourself and be better and maintain something. So yeah, fitness I think definitely helps. And in no terms am I like the fucking biggest person in the planet. People sometimes make me out to be fucking huge. I'm not huge. I don't think I'm huge. I weigh like 166 right now. I've gone up and down. I've had so many ups and downs in my workouts and stuff like that. I just understand the general, you know, idea of fitness. I mean, I've got certified in personal training. I know everything about it. But yeah, I mean, fitness definitely helps for sure.
Do you feel like there are days where if you don't take care of yourself and maybe you slack, you play worse in those days?
Not necessarily. It would definitely take me a while to get to that point for sure.
That's awesome. Do you feel like living in Vegas gives you space to practice that? I noticed the SSG guys have been going golfing. I know Hyena when he was in Vegas was going to the gym as well, and I think even Sky started to do that a lot more. Like with
Yeah.
pros moving to Vegas, there's gonna be space for people to actually like take care of themselves.
Um, I think it's a mentality, it's a maturity, it's a mindset thing. Wanting to take care of yourself. To be fair, a lot of gamers just don't have that drive or have that motivation, and it's easy not to have that motivation as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think people moving here to Vegas is necessarily going to create, this ultimate, you know, environment of healthy choices and stuff like that. I think if anything, it'll probably promote even more unhealthy choices, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I think there's a good handful of pros specifically in Siege that like take it serious, and then there's the other handful that whatever, I don't care. So, and to each their own. Everyone wants to live their life on how they want to live it. I don't think I'm not going to tell someone you need to be fitness, you need to be healthy, you need to do this. Do what you want. It's your life. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to do what works for me, what makes me feel better, and just do what I got to do.
Awesome. Do you want to speak a little bit more on your tweet earlier today and your thoughts on the FPL system potentially
Yeah,
coming to
I
NA?
mean, and I don't want to speak for like pros in CS:GO and stuff like that, but with like if you're comparing Siege and comparing it to like Valorant and CS:GO, how those games are played, they're played off lanes. It's a lot easier to watch a lane and be more coordinated off lanes versus Siege, where there's so much shit that goes on. One operator can completely change the whole layout of how a map is played or how a push is going to be taken. Um, but with CS:GO and stuff like that, like it's literally like common stuff. There's gonna be a smoke here, there's gonna be a Molotov here, there's gonna be a smoke there. It's very complex, but it's very simple at the same time. It's a lot easier. I think CS:GO is a lot easier to understand and learn than Siege. I used to think Siege was a very easy game, and like I thought CS:GO was like the epitome of like all FPS games. But as Siege has continued to grow, Siege, in my opinion, is like the most complex game to learn and the hardest game to learn because there's so many different things in Siege that other games don't have. Like the little one bullet holes that you can get killed through. Like not only are you going to be focusing on the map, but now you also have to pay attention to a tiny bullet hole and someone standing behind it, or you think you're safe, then all of a sudden your whole ceiling gets exploded. Like there's just so many different things that go on in Siege that those other games are very simple and easy to understand. So, in terms of playing with other pros, sure, you're gonna have structure, you can do that. But when you're playing with randoms, I don't see that structure like as if you'd have that structure with randoms in CS:GO or Valorant, because those games are played on lanes. So it's easy to be like, okay, we're taking B, we're taking A, where it's just like it's a doorway or it's like a catwalk pushing something. Like it's simple. Where Sieges, you can now make a rotate hole. There's a hatch. There's bottom floor being bucked out for like there's all sorts of shit that goes on. I just don't see that teamwork being put into an FPL league um for amateurs in Siege than something like in CS:GO.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I noticed like a lot of backlash towards the amateur player Kilo who ran out because he made a play like that. But what was interesting to me about that conversation entirely was just the fact that like what were the expectations of people in this tournament that we play like people just play completely safe and coordinated. Like I wasn't really
Yeah.
sure like how they saw that or what their I feel like that was a fine play. In fact, that was a play to make that. I even think even in CS FPL, like a lot of pros decide not to play that shit because they feel like that's just space for like aggro plays and people who are trying to play because there's money on the line. And a lot
Yeah.
of these like amateur players actually rely on that monthly prize pool. So they'll play just like you said for ranked, what people do shit for champ. I feel like in the competitive in that, even though it's competitive players, like they're willing to throw that shit out the window for a
Well, yeah,
chance
and
to
that's
catch you off guard and win a match.
yeah, and that's why it dies too, is because some people like have some pretty big like egos for some reason, and like when someone does something stupid, then it's instantly like, oh, you're shit, you're this or that, and then people just get into this like conflict of like, oh, this, that, and then just people stop playing. And to each their own. People want to play like idiots, they play like idiots. And I call people out for playing like idiots too. And I have like a very, I do some stupid shit when I play, but like it works. And but that's always why that stuff dies like almost immediately after, is just because of stuff like that. But I don't know. It is what it is. I don't feel it's just in a game like Siege, I just don't feel there's um room for something like that because of how the game is played. It's not played off lanes, it's played off top down and vertical and horizontal play.
Yeah, when there's anything random that's not your team into it, shit just becomes a lot harder to account for a lot of those things because like random stuff can still happen. Tongue scrapers. Thoughts? I've never heard of them until I watched the video.
Tongue scrapers are important. A lot of people don't even realize that. And they use the backside of a toothbrush, but I don't think that's good enough. I think you need to get a tongue scraper and actually scrape your tongue, because gamers especially, I've seen some of these motherfuckers at events when they're talking and all that stuff, their breath smells like shit, their tongues are like caked on with shit. So brush your fucking teeth and scrape your tongue.
You guys heard it here first. Yeah. So what are your plans
Take
post?
fucking showers.
Take showers before events, during
Yes.
events as well. That'd be amazing.
Listen, you said you were at an invite, and let me tell you, some of those lines smell like ass.
Oh yeah, I definitely feel
There is
like
no
I
fucking way, I don't care who you are, that you do not smell that shit
no, I
when it's coming
100%.
from you.
I don't know. Maybe people just don't, man. I feel like they don't, especially at those
That is
spaces.
even more disgusting. If you're just naturally like used to that smell, there's something wrong.
Yeah, I think in gamer culture, like a huge thing is just people just don't take care of themselves in a lot of ways,
That's
and
the
you
thing.
see it
Like
at those
people
LAN
just like
events.
give this gamer culture this bad rep that everyone's fat, everyone's ugly, everyone's this, everyone smells like shit, and like I mean, it's definitely not true. Gamers come in all shapes and sizes and colors and everything. But it's just like it's everyone just thinks like gamers are this, gamers are that. And to be fair, in some areas, like it's very true. It is definitely true. But you know, some of those people just need to fucking fix that, and then gamers maybe not get viewed that way.
Yeah, 100%. Please take care of yourselves, friends. That'd be highly appreciated when lands come back.
Please.
What's your plan post competitive siege? If like streaming or could be a thing that you'd like to eventually push.
I definitely want to be, if I wasn't playing professionally or whenever I decide to retire or drop, whatever the fuck case is. I've been trying to stream more to kind of bring more fan base, so I can have something on that end, but then also making YouTube content. I have yet to pull the trigger on stuff like that. I have tons of clips where I could easily upload stuff. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to be maybe like YouTube gamer content, and then also like fitness content, and maybe like do personal training on the side, get recertified, and then do stuff like that.
If you weren't playing siege, what do you feel like you'd be doing right now?
If I wasn't playing Siege, I'd probably been really focused on um personal training and fitness for sure.
I think that's fair. What are your thoughts on like the whole United thing? I think there's a lot of controversial opinions on how they play as a team and their philosophies of how they approach the game during the stage one. What did you
Um,
think?
Personally, I don't really touch much base on other teams because every team has their own problems and how they do things, and I mean it's just that's if they feel like that's what needs to be done, then they feel like that's what needs to be done. I mean, whether I think it's stupid or someone else thinks it's stupid, it's their own team dynamic. It is what it is. They do what they need to do. At the end of the day, I don't really care. I'm still top 3 in North America. So, I mean, they can keep doing whatever they do. If it makes my games easier to win, then, so be it, whatever. If it makes them better, so be it, whatever. Like I said, at the end of the day, I'm just worried about what my team's doing and how we do stuff.
Do you feel like, because you said you watch flanks for your team, do you
Mhm.
feel how do you feel like the game, like what is your team's philosophy of the game, like how do you guys approach
I mean, we
um
hate the meta. I think most pros probably hate the meta and how it is the 20-second meta bullshit, especially going into like this new season with Malusi and all that shit makes it like even like based off scrims. Like it just I don't like the slow like play and then last 20 seconds is like a free for all push. I don't know. I'm a really huge fan of it. I think it takes away from like viewership when you're watching your team play and then all of a sudden they have to funnel through a doorway, which in any pro's mind, pushing through a doorway is probably the fucking worst thing in the planet, because even if someone has shit aim, your body like fills the entire doorway, so it's not hard to miss.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't really know if we can actually get back away from the 20-second meta. It doesn't
No,
seem like
especially with the Thatcher bans and everything, like it forces 20-second meta almost.
do you feel like with Ace coming into play, the Thatcher bans become a little bit less because
No,
people see Ace as strong?
no, Thatcher will still be banned
Even with the changes to Thatcher?
100% because you can't bandit trick anymore. I mean,
Uh,
you can, but it's even harder. So, I mean, I don't know. People will still probably ban Thatcher, in my opinion.
with the new updates and the new sites in the game, which of these do there's a
I'm not
1.5x
really a
site
fan
appeal
of
to
them.
you?
Nah, I'm not really a fan of them. I thought what they were gonna do was they were gonna just like let you customize the like the time scope in it, and then from there, I'm cool with the 1.5s and the 2.5s and the threes, whatever the fuck it is. But I thought they were gonna let you personally customize yourself, kind of like how it was in Black Ops One back then, where you could customize your own reticle site. You could have a smiley face, you could have a star, you could have a skull. Like, it could be memey or it could be serious. Like that's kind of what I thought they were gonna do. I do like that they let you change the color of the reticles, but in terms of how the reticles look, I'm not really a huge fan of them.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think it's interesting that they forced some that new hollow on certain operators as well, like Pulse.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure how I felt about that. I guess that just makes me a reflex player all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something. I wish they'd like just made it so you could customize it yourself and kind of have your own unique, reticle or, what's common amongst pro players or stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like there's more they could have done. They just kind of got it out there quick.
Hopefully they iterate on it and like take our feedback
Yeah.
into account.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
All right. I think this is kind of the end of the podcast. Do you have any words for your fans and people who followed you all through?
Yeah, I mean, huge shout out to everyone. I always appreciate the support, even if it's negative. Like the people that are negative, like fuck you, you're still giving me publicity. But then also the people that really do like me and care about me, like much love to everybody that shows me that support and care. And I'm always somebody. I'm pretty sure some people can even vouch for me. I pop into people's streams, regardless of viewership on Siege, whether they have 100 or lower and 10, 1. I pop into random people's streams, say a few words, see what people are doing, whether they know me or they don't know me. One thing that I'll never do is I'll never go into like a stream and be like, I'm a pro player, I'm LaXIng. I don't do shit like that because I think that's some like loser type shit. If they know who I am, they know who I am. If they don't know who I am, they don't know who I am. I just have a conversation with people and just, see what people are up to.
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, I've heard a lot about that. And like a lot of people have spoken highly of how excited they were when Laxing was in their stream. Um, I think I think it does a lot. A couple years ago, I got hosted by Troy, and that was like the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, oh
Like
yeah,
for
and
no
I'll
other
throw like
reason.
I'll throw like random hosts to people as well, with like low viewership. And like my whole thing is like regardless of me being a pro player, like I wouldn't be here to this day if I didn't well, not I wouldn't say necessarily not be here to this day. Like I'd still be like a really good player. I might not be a pro because obviously like fans create that career for people. But I just like to show people that regardless of me being a pro player, it doesn't mean I think of people any less because of a certain viewership or follower count or anything like that. I give people the same amount of respect that they give me, regardless of who they are, regardless of the career, regardless of whatever. You show me respect, I give you respect. Plain and simple.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast. Like, I had an amazing time.
Well, I appreciate you having me on here.
And that is the episode. It was amazing getting to just have these conversations, and I think I love having to sit down with pros and talk about competitive Siege. It fascinates me on the variety of perspectives and just the ideas people have and just their opinions, and just honestly, it's a great time. It's never necessarily awkward. I would love to keep making more content like this, and if you guys really like these videos and the podcast I keep doing, I implore you to please subscribe and like the video, and leave a comment. Let me know who you'd like to see next, and I'll try to hit them up. Have an amazing day, guys, and thanks for listening.